There's a rumor floating around the NFL landscape that's got more than a few eyebrows raised. The Las Vegas Raiders, sitting pretty with the number 6 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, might just be thinking about doing something completely out of the ordinary, selecting a running back. Not just any back, though. We're talking about Jany out of Boise State. If that name doesn't ring a bell for casual fans, it will soon. Because what Jany's done on the college gridiron isn't just impressive, it's historic. Let's start with the basics. At Boise State, Jany turned heads with his ability to make defenders miss, run through contact, and turn nothing into something time and time again. His rushing grade, according to Pro Football Focus, was a staggering 99.9, the highest ever recorded in PFF's college history. That's not a typo. He also tallied 284 forced missed tackles in his collegiate career, alongside 3,557 yards after contact. Those aren't just good numbers. Those are elite, record-setting numbers that speak to a player who isn't just good at his position, but perhaps on a completely different level than any back in recent memory. So why the controversy? Why does the idea of taking someone like Jany at 6th overall stir up so much debate? It comes down to value. The running back position, once considered the cornerstone of any NFL offense, has seen its draft day value plummet over the years. Teams have grown wary of spending premium picks on a position seen as more replaceable, more injury-prone, and less game-changing in today's pass-heavy league. When you consider that the likes of Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones were drafted outside the first round, the hesitation makes sense. And yet every few years, a back comes along that makes everyone pause. Could Jany be one of those rare outliers? For the Raiders, the question becomes one of identity and direction. Antonio Pierce, recently named full-time head coach after a passionate interim run, is looking to reshape the franchise with grit, toughness, and physicality. Jany, with his bruising yet agile running style, fits that mold to a T. He's not just a runner. He's a tone setter, someone who can wear down defenses, pick up yards when everything else is breaking down, and give his team a dependable weapon in any situation. If Pierce is serious about building an old-school team with a modern edge, Jany might be exactly the kind of player he sees as the foundation. But still, 6th overall? The critics are already lining up. The Raiders have needs all over the roster, from offensive line to the secondary. And quarterback remains an open question despite the presence of Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Many believe the team should be focused on building through the trenches or targeting a future franchise quarterback if one falls into their lap. Taking a running back, even one with Jany's production, could be seen as short-sighted or even reckless, especially given the historical trends that show first-round running backs often fail to return value relative to their draft position. Of course, it's possible that the Raiders are simply doing their homework. Maybe they're not sold on Jany at 6, but would be open to trading down, picking up additional capital, and then snagging him later in the first round. That would make more sense from a value perspective, with teams like the Vikings, Broncos, and Saints potentially looking to move up for a quarterback or a top defender. Las Vegas could slide back into the early teens and still walk away with their guy. It would also allow them to address other holes on the roster with the extra picks gained in the trade. Jany himself is an interesting case study in how modern analytics and traditional scouting sometimes intersect. On film, he pops. His balance, vision, and contact courage are second to none. But what truly separates him are the advanced metrics. He doesn't just break tackles, he obliterates them. He doesn't just gain yards, he drags entire defenses. There's a relentlessness to his game that screams next-level talent, and his performance against high-level competition didn't fade in big moments. He played his best when the lights were the brightest, a trait NFL evaluators hold in high regard. The Raiders have long been known for making bold draft day moves, often valuing traits and upside over consensus rankings. From selecting Darius Hayward-Bay because of his 40 time to trading for Antonio Brown despite the risks, Las Vegas hasn't exactly been shy when it comes to making headlines. Taking Jany at number 6 would fall right in line with that legacy of unpredictability. It would be a swing for the fences, a statement that the Raiders believe in building around a difference maker in the backfield rather than conforming to the latest positional value charts. There's also a strategic angle to consider. If the Raiders are committed to building a power run, ball control offense to support their quarterback, whoever ends up under center, then having a back like Jany who can command attention on every down changes everything. He opens up the play-action game. He keeps the defense honest. He keeps your own defense off the field and rested. It's not just about what he does with the ball in his hands, but the ripple effect he creates throughout the offense. In many ways, this potential pick boils down to belief. Do the Raiders believe that Jany is a once-in-a-generation back who can redefine what the position means in the modern NFL? Do they believe that his skill set transcends the usual red flags that surround early running back selections? And most importantly, do they believe that pairing him with their current offensive line and skill players will yield a unit capable of keeping up in an increasingly competitive AFC? The draft is always part chess, part poker, and part blind faith. The Raiders, for all their storied history and silver and black mystique, are once again standing at a crossroads. Do they play it safe and take a premium position player to fit the mold of a modern NFL team? Or do they trust their instincts, follow the tape, and pull the trigger on a player who might just be the heart and soul of their offense for the next decade? One thing's for sure, if Ashton Jany's name is called at pick number 6, the league won't stop talking about it for a long, long time. If the Las Vegas Raiders were to actually go forward with a selection of Ashton Jany at 6th overall, it wouldn't just be a bold football decision. It would signal a seismic philosophical shift. For years, NFL front offices have leaned into analytics, data, and long-term positional value charts, pushing running backs down the board in favor of pass rushers, offensive tackles, cornerbacks, and quarterbacks. But there comes a moment when a player tests those theories, challenges the patterns, and forces a team to ask a difficult question. Are we thinking too much like everyone else? For Antonio Pierce and the new leadership in Las Vegas, selecting Jany would be a resounding answer to that question. It would mean betting on toughness, physical identity, and tone setting over safer positional value. It would also mean taking on the pressure that comes with making such an unconventional move. The second Jany is drafted in the top 10, the spotlight becomes a furnace. Every run, every fumble, every missed block becomes a referendum on the decision to go against the grain. But if there's a city and a fan base that embraces the outlaw mentality, it's Vegas. And yet, we also need to explore what comes next. If Jany becomes the pick, what kind of offense do the Raiders construct around him? Do they lean more heavily into a run-first approach, using heavy personnel and power formations to maximize his skill set? Does this reshape how they approach their quarterback room? Perhaps favoring a game manager over a gunslinger, someone who can play off play action and protect the football rather than trying to carry the team on his arm? There's also the matter of how this pick would resonate within the locker room. Veteran players like Davante Adams and Kolton Miller, who've seen countless ups and downs over the years, might view this as a signal that the team is prioritizing physicality and identity. A player like Jany, who grinds for every inch and plays with a chip on his shoulder, can galvanize a roster. He can be that locker room presence who doesn't say much, but leads by example, by the way he practices, the way he plays, and the way he carries himself on and off the field. But inspiration alone doesn't win games. For this pick to be justified, the Raiders' coaching staff will need to be creative and aggressive in how they use Jany. This can't be a simple case of running him into stacked boxes 25 times a game and hoping he survives. No, if you're spending a top 6 pick on a running back, you better have a plan to use him as a weapon in all phases, on screens in the slot, catching passes out of the backfield, even as a decoy to open up mismatches for others. Jany has shown he's capable of doing all of that at the college level. The question is whether this Raiders staff is prepared to unleash that versatility in the NFL. That leads us to another layer of this move, what it says about the Raiders' belief in their offensive line. Because no matter how talented a running back may be, if the blocking up front isn't there, he's going to struggle. Taking Jany in the first round would suggest that the front office is either confident in its current group or planning to invest heavily in it throughout the rest of the draft and free agency. You don't spend premium capital on a back just to see him constantly fighting defenders in the backfield before he's even hit the line of scrimmage. There's also the financial reality to consider. Rookie contracts for running backs, even high picks, are still team-friendly compared to quarterback or tackle salaries. But there's a ticking clock attached to them. Most backs, no matter how talented, begin to wear down after their first contract. That means the Raiders would need to maximize Jany's prime years between now and the 2029 season, which puts pressure on the rest of the roster-building process. You can't afford to waste years trying to find the right quarterback or the perfect defense. If you draft Jany high, the win-now clock starts ticking immediately. The AFC isn't forgiving, either. You're not just trying to build a playoff team. You're trying to take down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Josh Allen and the Bills, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. If you're going to beat those teams, you either need to match them punch for punch through the air or control the game in a way that minimizes their offensive opportunities. That's the blueprint the Raiders seem to be flirting with. Use Jany as the anchor to a ball control, physical brand of football that keeps your defense off the field and controls the tempo. It's not a new idea, but it's one that requires the right personnel, unwavering commitment, and near-perfect execution. Of course, there's the possibility this is all a smokescreen. Teams routinely leak interest in certain prospects to bait trade, offers, or manipulate the board. Maybe the Raiders are hyping up their admiration for Jany in hopes of getting another team to bite and trade up. Or perhaps they're trying to push a quarterback down the board to fall into their lap. Draft season is a time for deception, and no one plays that game better than NFL front offices in April. Still, for every deception, there's always a grain of truth. The mere fact that Jany's name is being mentioned in connection with a top 10 pick speaks volumes about how highly he's regarded in some circles. And whether he lands in Vegas or not, his presence looms over the draft board as a potential domino waiting to fall. If the Raiders do pass on him, don't expect him to last much longer. A team in the mid to late first round, perhaps the Dallas Cowboys, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or even the Green Bay Packers, could be waiting to pounce. But there's something undeniably compelling about the idea of Jany in silver and black. The way he runs, angry, relentless, unforgiving, feels like a throwback to the glory days of Raiders football. He embodies the kind of energy that doesn't just change games, but changes cultures. For a team that spent years searching for an identity, drafting a player who is an identity might be exactly the spark they need. In the end, it's a high-stakes decision with no safety net. If Jany turns into the next great workhorse back, the Raiders will look like geniuses. If he struggles or fails to elevate the offense, the pick will be scrutinized for years to come. But that's the nature of the draft. It's never just about picking the best player. It's about vision, belief, and guts. And in the gambling capital of the world, maybe a little risk is exactly what's needed to change the game. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a stunning admission that has shocked fans and analysts alike, NFL wide receiver Davante Adams revealed to reporters that he deeply regrets leaving the Las Vegas Raiders in 2024. The star wideout, who made waves last season with the New York Jets, opened up about his feelings during a candid interview, expressing that his decision to part ways with the Raiders was a mistake. "I never should have left," Adams said, his voice tinged with regret. "The chemistry I had there, the energy from the fans, and the team's potential. It was a place where I truly thrived. And looking back now, I wish I had stayed." Adams had a remarkable first season with the Raiders, setting franchise records and earning his 6th consecutive Pro Bowl selection. He was not just a playmaker, but a leader, amassing 1,516 yards and 14 touchdowns in 2022. The connection with quarterback Derek Carr, his former college teammate at Fresno State, seemed to be a perfect fit. Together, they rejuvenated the Raiders' offense, making them a formidable force in the AFC. But despite the individual success, Adams made the surprising decision to leave when trade talks surfaced with the New York Jets, reuniting him with his longtime friend and former Green Bay Packers quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. However, the change of scenery didn't bring the same results Adams had hoped for. Although his time with the Jets included some spectacular performances, such as a career-long 71-yard touchdown, the team struggled to find consistency. The vibe in New York just wasn't the same. "I missed the Raiders, missed how we played, how we competed," Adams admitted. Despite racking up over 1,000 receiving yards with the Jets, Adams couldn't shake the feeling that he was no longer in a place where he was truly appreciated. As the 2024 season progressed, Adams made it clear that he wasn't happy in New York. His relationship with the Jets, while initially hopeful, began to sour, with trade rumors swirling and a nagging hamstring injury sidelining him for several games. Adams requested a move back to the West Coast. His wish was granted when the Jets released him in March 2025, paving the way for a fresh start with the Los Angeles Rams. But even as he embarks on this new chapter, the former Raiders star can't help but reflect on what could have been. Now, as he prepares for his first season with the Rams, Adams is determined to prove that he's not just a product of a strong system, but a wide receiver who can excel anywhere. Yet, his heart remains tied to the Raiders. "The grass isn't always greener," Adams confessed. "I should have stayed with the Raiders and helped them build something special. I'll never forget the love I felt from that fan base." As he takes the field in Los Angeles, the Raiders' chapter of Adams' career will undoubtedly remain one of the most bittersweet memories of his storied journey in the NFL. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about the Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.